put it out again, got done. Then the other rod's got done. Then that one's got done again. And it's now driving me insane because I've caught 16 the week before on that very rig. Now I can't hook one.
That textbook hook hold that everyone talks about is bullshit. It's just like a forest of phantoms, you know. It's like I want facts only. I don't care about opinions.
Everyone thinks I'm ill, don't they?
They think you're ill. You've
lost
gone.
a bit of weight. I haven't done any films. Like that's Dan.
Yeah.
We're gonna.
But the truth of the matter is,
get my black suit ready for the old memorial service. Like, you know,
we'll be there. We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll be there.
Well,
sure.
Daryl, not if it's on a moon phase.
That's true.
You know what I mean? He's literally going to get shot if he takes you on certain places.
Yeah.
You know, he will be ostracised from the German scene.
Thinking Tackle Podcast.
We're good to go, Tobe. Right, we'll get started then. Welcome everybody back to the Thinking Tackle UNCUT podcast. Now, for those that are watching, I won't need to do this introduction, but for those that are just listening and driving along, we've got a slightly different looking studio today, and that's because the lads are on underwater. Had a good look round the building and a good ring round, and there wasn't really anybody amazing to get in, so we've gone with these two guys, Darrell Peck and, of course, Danny Fairbrass. So welcome, lads. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, bruv. Thank you.
Really good replacements, and I'm sure the other lads are going to be very jealous that they're not involved. So we'll have to do it again with you, Dan, when all the lads are back together, because I know they wanted to get you on.
Yeah. Well, if it's that good, then they're relegated, aren't they?
Well, they're gone. This will be us now. Us new three.
Which is pretty
no
much
more big carp hunting, Daryl. You're a
conclusion.
podcast host.
Takeover.
Yeah. We have actually got a little message from the lads, actually, from underwater, which I think Toby will have to whack on, just to show everybody at home what they are actually up to. Here it is, look.
All right, boys. Sorry we can't be there today, but we're doing something a little bit special. We're currently fishing next to a snag that the big un, a 64-pound fully scaled, was feeding under yesterday. What have you got to say about this,
Well,
Vince?
the aim is I catch it to stop the grief about 50-pounders. My rig's in position. We've seen the big un. The next time you see me, I might have the biggest smile on my face. Who knows?
But have a blinding podcast, boys, and we'll catch you soon. We're going to try and catch this big un.
Neil looks like he's been in some sort of car accident with that hat on, doesn't he?
He does.
Don't you think? Like
Yeah.
he's like it's all wrapped up.
Yeah. Someone else said that about his hat. He loves that beanie.
Pale as well, doesn't
Yeah.
he? You know,
How does that make both of you feel seeing the old underwater tent? Have you got any
relief.
Does it not
Yeah.
being there?
Relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell everyone what that feels like a little bit, actually being at an underwater, like exactly how they're feeling right now.
No one feels like I feel because it's no one else's train set, is it?
No, true.
They're playing, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's why they can come in and absolutely rip it out of me the whole time.
Yeah.
Because it's just a jolly up for them. It don't matter, does it? If we catch anything or we don't catch anything, no bother to them. They're still getting paid, aren't they?
I think they are pretty stressed. I must admit, I've spoke to them a couple of times.
Now they are because it's
Yeah.
all on them.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm well shot of it, mate, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I'd rather prove how you catch them just by catching them without showing everybody else how to do it. But, you know, I won't give it completely away, but I'm still recovering from last year at Carp.
Yeah, well, that's another. We're going to talk about some of the films that are coming out later on in the year, and obviously that's one of them. So we'll look at them later. What about you, Daryl? The underwater. I know you love the experience. I think you're pretty keen to have another go, aren't you?
Yeah, I think for them, obviously they're fishing for a 60-pound fully scaled. They've got the lake to themselves.
That you have caught.
Yeah. But it's pretty exciting when you've got a lake to yourself that's usually like exclusive and loads of people have been around it. Sorry, I meant like you usually got 5, 6, 7, 8 blokes around it. To have that to yourselves, put a camera in, bring the fish to the camera, and have the opportunity to do that. I think that's
as they've seen it.
Yeah, as work goes. Doesn't get a lot worse than that, does it?
No. But I know you were involved a little bit with the planning of this and actually went on one of the recce trips, didn't you? What did you sort of find there or work out?
So I went there to plumb for spots, and in my mind, the fish in the weeks leading up to it had been caught in open water. So obviously I looked for spots in open water. I looked at the spots that I'd already fished in October. But they went out on those spots. There was 2 margin spots I recommended and 2 open water spots. And they went out onto the open water ones to start with because that's where the fish have been coming from. And then very quickly it's got hot. They found their own margin spot, got fish feeding on it, but it's in a part of the lake where the big one never gets caught or has never been caught. And when it's been caught, when it's quite a regular fish, I think that's important. And there's a big snag bush at the other end of the lake where I know that it likes to get caught round. And I actually sent Dovey a text on before they'd even started saying this would be very high on my list. And I saw fish there. Anthony saw fish there. they'd been seeing fish somewhere
Yeah.
else, but they hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
So it was obviously somewhere else. And as soon as they put it in this new spot,
It
was
sounds
the-
like there's been quite a bit going on. We won't give too much away.
Won't
'cause
give
obviously
too
it's
much
gonna be
away, but what it does is I've said to him this morning. I said, "Bloody well done, boys." I sent him a message last night once I'd seen what had happened, and and I'm like, whatever happens on this, you will both go away from this far better anglers than when you started, and they're already amazing. So whilst there is a lot of frustration and in my case pain, what comes from it is almost always worth it.
Yeah. I would say from obviously featuring a very much a cameo part with Daryl on the test tapes, it is one of those things that I think if you're not involved in it or never do it, it's easy to sit at home and think that's not for me, that just casting out and watching me rig and all that.
Well, I don't think many people think that. I think they think, oh, it's easy.
You may be.
That's what they.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, what are you doing that for? I would have done this, and that would have.
Yeah.
That's the feedback I get.
Maybe, but I think it's more for me. It was it is amazing how addictive it becomes instantly. Like even if you haven't got a rod in the water, if you're the person sat next to the person with the rod in the water, you like never more than anything do you want to just be the person with the rod in the water.
Yeah.
You're like, when's it going to be my go? You feel like you know all the answers. Even sitting next to someone like an absolute Terminator like Daryl, you find yourself almost going, I'd have got a bite, I reckon. I reckon I'd have done this. I'd have. But you wouldn't have done, but you just feel like you probably would have done. It's a quite a unique situation, isn't it?
Yeah, opinions are like arseholes.
Yeah,
Everybody's
they
got
are.
one.
It's easier in hindsight, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
when I watch those
Yeah.
test tapes back, I find it so hard to watch back knowing that I didn't try and match the hatch quicker.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I like to think that I read a situation good. And I'm sitting there rifling through my van, your van, different colour pop-ups, different types of goo.
Yeah.
When you see them eating the boilies, fish the boilie.
Yeah.
What,
I watched that this morning actually because up until this point I haven't seen much of it.
Right. Okay.
And I watched it this morning, and fair play for going onto it like 10 days in to a spot being not blown but not far off it. That's one of our Achilles heels, is leaving the camera on the same spot for too long, definitely. But they're a lot more manoeuvrable now. So, but I would like to see you, Mr. Peck, like in a proper situation and going first.
Same.
Which was planned to happen, but it probably isn't going now, is it?
Never say never, I guess. But at the moment, the way things are unfolding, I think they're in a unique position right now without saying
They've seen
too
it,
much.
mate.
They've seen it, but I think more than that, they've got time on their side with a weather change coming.
They need to spawn into the only thing in my mind
Yeah.
that could stop them. Like, I think.
But there's only like a day left of that weather, isn't there?
It can still go when it cools off, though, can't you?
Yeah.
You know, it can be rising. I've seen it loads of times when it's raining and they start spawning.
Yeah.
But that's when the water is all the same temperature, generally. They've spawned really early on a lot of places because the margins have got to 18 degrees, but the lake is not 18 degrees.
Yeah.
You know, so if the margins are going to cool down quicker, if it pours with rain, and the air temperature goes down, the surface cools faster, so you can get a point where the water out at the bottom out in deeper water is suddenly warmer than the margins and the surface area, and then those open water spots might start to bear fruit.
Yeah, just
you
to
know?
timestamp it, we're for anyone that doesn't know, we're the 1st of May, aren't we, today?
Yeah.
1st
Yes.
of May, and it's supposed to be the hottest day of the year, isn't it? Reaching sort of 28s in London, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of little period they've got to survive.
That's where we should be doing this.
What, in London?
In London, because all fit women are solar powered,
That's
and
true.
they only come out in the sun. Don't
on a
they?
Thursday the night
On
as well.
a
isn't it?
Thursday's the new Friday.
Friday, yeah.
We should be sitting on the rooftop of the Ned,
Yeah,
right? Which I'm sure I could wangle,
yeah.
and doing one then, because that won't be attractive
how do you think-
at all.
how do you
And
think-
with you two handsome devils in it as well,
Yeah.
I can just pick off the stragglers on the edge,
Yeah.
can't I? You know.
How do you think that would go down, sat there on the rooftop of that saying, get over here, girls, come and tell you about the old chod
Well,
rigs, come here.
I think it'd be brilliant.
Do you reckon?
Have a tank with some rigs in it,
Yeah.
and have a spare chair and sit them down and go, what's going on in there then?
Yeah, they'll be like, I don't know,
How
give me another
good-
bottle of champagne,
Toad?
I'll have a guess.
Toad,
Yeah.
what are we saying? You've done them on location already, haven't you?
Yeah. Okay, Ned it is then, before the summer
Ned,
disappears.
mate.
We'll
Mate,
do
and
it.
also they're doing this amazing tomahawk as well at the moment.
Okay.
That is just absolutely off the scale.
Well, as I said, the lads are desperate to do one with you, and obviously the plan was to do one soon anyway, and you've
Let's
helped
do
us
it
out
there.
on this one. So
Let's do it
there you
there,
go.
man, on the
There you go.
roof. On the
All
roof.
right, yeah.
Not
Tope,
when-
oh,
not
you
when-
are available, Tope, for that one, yeah? Poor old John and Kev, they're out. They're gone. But no, that's great. It's going to be obviously another, if it carries on like in the vein it did and they dodged this little hot period, I think you've got the makings of another incredible underwater by the sound of it.
Yeah,
So it
mate,
should be
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But let's stay with you for a sec, Dan, because I know you've been doing a little bit of fishing over at the Carp Arena and, well, Orchid actually went on, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is obviously a lake that's going to open up later in the year, or is it just opened?
It's literally just opened. More by through error
Right.
on our part. It wasn't meant to open until the end of July. But two different groups who booked on last year, the first of those groups have just gone on for their first week, caught a load of really nice fish, I think up to 48, I think.
Wow.
But the situation there was we stocked that lake, Orchid, which is maybe 6 acres, oblong, like rectangular in shape, 4 swims in 6 acres. You each get a corner of the lake. They've taken all the snags out down the margins. There's no weed in it at the moment. There's no snags in it. So it's lovely open water fishing. Totally different from the rest of the complex, which is all rowing up to far margins and dropping it under a particular bush that they like to live in. There's none of that. That first week they've done this week, but they've started spawning, so they've had to go home. So the people who are booked on next week, unfortunately, aren't going to get to fish it. But it opens proper end of July, the last week of July, moving into August. And then it will be open from now on. But the situation was last year we stocked that lake and the one next to it, Lily, and through water quality problems and maybe something viral, we lost up to 40 fish on that lake alone. So we didn't open it. We wanted to see how it had gone this year, and we didn't want anyone fishing it around spawning. So that them guys coming this week was a mistake that could have cost us. But thus far, we haven't had any deaths at all. So clearly what's happened has passed, water quality's improved, but the fish have had a whole year now, really nice fish that have been stocked, have had a whole year of being fed and not being fished for, which is, we know, is the perfect situation for growing big carp.
Yeah.
It's us catching them and putting them under pressure that slows their growth down, you know. So I went, just because I haven't got the fishing bug at the moment this year, but I sort of got the bug. I can't remember what maybe I'll watch something or something happened that I thought, sod it, let's just go for a few days. We've got a few days, you know. And I thought, I want to go somewhere. I don't want to go to my syndicates, because you can't turn up on a difficult syndicate unless your name's Darrell Peck for the first time in 3 years and get straight on them. And it takes a session or two. Do you find that, Daryl?
Yeah.
Does it take you a session or two to get into a lake again, or not?
Get your gear in order, because obviously when you fish loads of different lakes, your gear's always not quite as you'd like it for a certain lake. But once you go to a lake and you see it, you get an idea of what you want to do, refine your stuff. And I find that the less I can take out of my mind, the more I can take out of my mind, the clearer I think. And I want less clutter in my mind.
Yeah, that's a great skill of yours that you've always had, that there is nothing going on other than that next carp you're trying to catch. That's the way it seems to me. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd wish it was 100% like that, because you know.
But you're 100% more than anybody else.
Well, ish, but really successful people generally can spin lots of plates, whereas as soon as you give me more than 2 plates, I'm like,
I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I think really successful people know to concentrate solely on one thing at a time and make that work, and then they move on to something else. Yeah, that is, you know,
from an outsider looking in, but you staying on that sort of subject, being organised and having your ducks in a row and stuff, you're quite opposites in regards to chopping and changing as well, aren't you? Dan, I know you're somebody that experiments quite a lot, aren't you? You experiment quite a lot with rig length.
I'm always looking for the next big thing.
Yeah. Whereas you're sort of quite well known, Pecky, for being quite one-dimensional. Wouldn't be the right word, but you keep things as simple as you can keep them, don't you? And if something's working,
it's not simple. It's not simple. No, it's consistent.
Yeah,
that's the bit I've drawn from you is that you're not worrying about that element. We're not worrying, but you're not giving any energy or time to that element of your fishing. It's all to do with finding them, the hunter. Yeah, being in the right spot. Well, every moment I'm thinking about a rig change, I'm not thinking about where are they.
Yeah. But how does your mind work in regards to if someone was to because obviously if you've had an amazing session and loads of success on a particular length rig in a very similar situation, you're still somebody that would change the length of that rig again, aren't you, if it's not happening? So
if it's not happening, I mean, that happened to me at Orchid, right? So I've gone on to Orchid. It's been fished a little bit before, but not very much. And certainly those stockies have barely been fished for, if at all, right? But I'm a great believer that if you put new fish into a lake with an existing stock, the new fish very quickly adopt the behaviour of the existing stock. So if the existing stock are, like it happens at Gigantica, you put these babies in and they become like impossible to catch in like 2 years. And it's almost like the big uns have all sat them down and go, right, son, this is how it's going to be on here, you know. I know that doesn't happen, but they must copy each other, and if one's on edge, they're all on edge, you know. It's an animal thing, isn't it? They're looking for danger, aren't they? So I went on there and thought they were going to be climbing up the line, and whilst I caught a few, it wasn't like that. Obviously, it takes a time to get exactly the right tactics for that lake on that day, that swim, whatever. The fish's behaviour is different every time you go. And I caught a few, and I had a great session. I did 4 days and nights fishing. One of the nights I didn't fish because I was so tired. I moved when I was absolutely knackered, when all I wanted to do was sleep, and then I packed it all away. Bearing in mind I wasn't thinking to move, so it was everywhere. All my washing up was everywhere. You know what it's like when there's a pan full of greasy water and there's a cup over there and all your bait's all drying out, and I know I've got to be on the other side because my bites have dried up, and I've had a little walk round there, still knackered and just seen them all. I thought, well, I can't sit here anymore. I've got to go. And I landed 16 at a 50-pounder, which we had no idea they'd grown to 50 pound. So that fish went in a year ago at 35.
Wow.
And it's a male common. Yeah,
we're just looking at a few of them now. Go on then, is that the one?
That's the one. I'm going to call that the 10 grand common.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's put 10 grand on the ticket price.
That's a hell of a carp. Yeah. For people that are listening and actually can't see, that's a super long jet
That's not
black
per
common.
week in late. Okay,
no.
So that's over the course of the year for embryo, which is just in case people start throwing tin cans at the phone or whatever. Embryo's £9 million overdrawn.
Yeah.
All right. So if we can scratch back more 10 grand, which is well worth it over the course of the year, I think we're allowed to.
That's a hell of a carp, isn't it?
But that's a mega fish. 35 pounds. Just over a year ago, January 24, that was stocked.
Wow.
That was caught end of March 25.
Amazing.
So it's always going to be that weight. It's been caught again this week at the same weight, 50 pound 4, from the same swim.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a creature of habit already, but it's got a brother, another male. You can see it's a male because of how long the fins are, and it's not particularly gutty at the moment or anything. It's a male, that.
It's a tank, isn't it?
So there's 2 males. The other one hasn't been caught yet. That are pretty much the same size.
Wow.
Straight away. So we're opening with 50 pounders, which is amazing.
Yeah, nice. What is it if somebody's looking to go there? What you were saying about not needing the boat and it's open water fishing?
Right, okay, so from me going for those couple of weeks, I'm like, every other lake on here is boat fishing. And what you see as a fishery owner, you see every single person rowing across to the far margin, and dropping every single rod. There's 2 of them, so all 6 rods are dropped on the far margin. So the first 99% of their swim is never ever fished, ever.
And always got lines for it.
Always got lines through it, and that happens for the whole year. And when everybody rows up to that nest where they're all round, they go, little pinch of bait, enough to get a bite. They ain't getting massive on that, are they?
No.
Little pinch of bait, you know. So on this particular lake, because there are no snags, and because it's just clay bottom, and it used to be chocker with weed, and there's not a drop in there now, the fish have eaten it all. You know, something has changed on that lake. So, and because it's not long range, the middle is 25 wraps to the absolute middle. So your leads would be hitting each other. So I'm going to limit it to 19 wraps. So there's a big corridor down the middle for them to be in. Because if everybody can fish right on top of each other, then fish are going to be running scared on a little lake, and it's going to get really hard really quick. But what I'm going to do on that lake is make it a casting only lake, because all the other 3 lakes are all boating. So for a change, casting only lake to keep people off the water so it fishes better.
Yep.
You know, if you've got 4 blokes out in boats on 6 acres, you know, it's like when you go out in a boat, Daryl, it's in and out as quickly as you can be, like trying to use, like, not touch inside the boat with the oars. And you explain to someone, if you're going to rebait a rod you've caught from out with a boat, how long is that taking you? And
it takes longer than you'd like it to do, like compared to
but how long are
recasting.
you on top of your spot for?
I'll try to be there for less than a couple of minutes maximum if I can. You know, like, generally go to if you've got a float out there, go to the spot, turn the boat around 180 degrees, put the bait out first, because it's once you've got the rod. If you put the rig down first, then you bait, then you can be drifting.
Yes.
You know, so it's better if you put the bait out first, and then drop the rig straight on top of the bait and go.
Same if it's a far margin.
The ideal scenario is you can see the bottom, you can see your bait as it hits the bottom, and then you lower your rig near edge, perfect, and go. When you can't see the bottom, it's never quite as accurate as you'd like to be, because you're never still.
Yes.
You know, or when you're on the water, you're constantly moving, and it's really hard to be super precise. But if you can see the bottom, put your bait out and go. That's the when you get back to if you've hand placed it, you can't be any more confident if you can see it. Do you know what I mean? All doubt is gone. It can't be tangled. You know you're not through your bait. You know your line's good. But
the point is, it's the minimum amount of time possible to be out in the boat.
Yeah, boats
to
scare carp.
Yeah,
boats scare carp. Like when I fished at Eradicating years ago, I got all hyped up in the winter going up to it. I'm going to need to fish from a boat, first time placing rigs, rah. I got there, and as soon as I watched what was going on, within a couple of sessions, well, almost instantly I could see, as soon as the fish started topping and people went out the boat, the fish moved. And I just started casting singles, one chuck to where they were, and that's how I caught all of my fish out of Eradicating. And single couldn't pop up, I couldn't even reach them. I was landing 30 yards short, and I was still catching more than most, because they were going out there, like you say, clonk, 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 looking for a spot, all doing all that.
That's what people, especially inexperienced, they haven't used the boat before, or very rarely, prodding sticks come out. They think they're on Orient or somewhere, or Shantico, you know, prodding, and they're all out in the boat all the time. Like when I was there, the 2 guys, bless them, who were on Irish, which is next door, which is using boats, and that is 4 swims in a row, so it's really social, and you're all going out to the far reaches of the lake. You're going over to the edges and everything else generally, because it's big shallow area in the middle, nice margins all the way around, no snags again, few little reed beds, and I went to go and see them and make sure rigs are all good, because I wanted them to catch and everything else. Didn't really know much about them, you know, and they were both out in the boat together looking round. Like that is just like, you just know they're spending too much time in the water. On the water if they've gone out in the boat together. So to make it a casting lake, you can bait up with a boat, but you shouldn't. Now what we're going to do is put marker poles out in the swims, right, at 15 wraps, and we're going to say to people, we're going to leave them in the swims. They're going to have black tops on them so it doesn't look horrible. So it's like a tiny black float in your swim, and we're going to bait those things prior to it opening in July. If you don't fish around that marker pole, you've got to be mad, haven't you? It's had 2 months of pellet being lathered in, 30 yards long, 10 yards deep, near that pole. So you fish that pole until that pole blows, because it's going to eventually, and then we just move the pole. 2 rod lengths that way, 2 rod lengths that way, until that blows, then we'll move it again, and then we move it again like that. And then people that are coming for the first time ever, and certainly the first time in a year, they just hit the ground running. They haven't got to work it out for themselves, because a lot of them haven't got the angling experience, and certainly not the experience on that lake, to work it out for themselves. So, but also what it's going to do, within a few years, that'll have the biggest fish on the whole complex. Bearing in mind the Dino's 63 pound, so it's 13 pound in front of that common. But it's been in there forever. Right, that's one of the originals. Within a few years, that lake will have the biggest fish, and they're all getting scared about the other lakes, the people that run it. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, because you won't be putting a pinch out, you'll be putting 10 key pellet out on day one. You know, they're going to get massive. You know, and that's what I want to see for the other lakes. You know, and I'd like Rosemere doesn't need to be a boat lake. You know, the more we're clearing the snags out of that, it's right next to Orchid. It's very similar in its makeup, and if everybody cast, they wouldn't all be tucked up under the trees all the time. you know. So
I think the boats are a difficult one, aren't they? Because there's a few different types of angler, isn't there? You've got the guys that will probably go there that never get to use a boat, and then all the excitement kicks in that we can go out in the boat, sit the life jacket on, and like you said, they spend 4 days out of their 5-day trip working out exactly how to do it, how to turn the boat around, how to come back, and before you know it, the holiday's gone. And obviously it's probably the next
go
trip.
Kayaking on the river around the corner. Don't drive all the way to Belgium.
But they
do that because you're going to catch just as many kayaking without a rod on the local canal.
Yeah. It's a major skill, isn't it? Like using a boat for carp fishing in a really good manner. It's like,
especially when it's windy.
Yeah, well, I think even when you've done quite a lot of it, if you're doing it maybe once, twice a year, every year I've probably done it maybe twice a year for the last 5 or 6, 7 years, maybe. And even for me, like, it's probably the sort of 4th or 5th drop where I feel like I'm back in the groove. I never just get there and start.
Even the master that is.
I'm not a master boat angler. Like when you watch those like European guys that
Damien's a bit special, isn't he, from France?
Exactly. Yeah. We watch them and the way they turn the boat, it's all effortless. They're not thinking about it. But I bet the same thing they think when they see us cast a rod.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So like. Yeah, it's what you. If you grew up doing that, you don't actually think about what you're doing. You just do it as second nature.
Yeah.
It's like not muscle memory, but you know what you're doing.
Well, it is muscle memory, mate.
Yeah, it's like casting the rod is the same for us because that's how we learn. And when you learn something when you're young, it's different. It's I think it's ingrained. Like,
Yes, definitely.
We've got a few more of them fish toe from that trip because they're really nice, aren't they? The carp.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, just finishing on that idea about it being a casting one, I know that's going to make a lot of people happy because a lot of people don't like the idea of having to use a boat. So it's going to be great. They've got an option.
If I was 4 blokes going on there, I wouldn't use the boat at all.
No,
not at all. I would bait up. It's 19 wraps is the maximum, so it's easy to spot. All of them have got side banks which are. There's no fishing from them banks. You can fish towards them. That's how I caught this one. Casting towards the side bank. The trees were all still overhanging because we hadn't cleared anything off yet. And I'm flicking it under the trees round, still hitting the clip against this side bank, but not close. They were living in a snag. I say living in a snag. There's a tiny little tree that we'd cut and had fallen in. Yeah. And it was like half the size of a Christmas tree, but they were all still in it.
Something's everything, isn't it?
It's not, exactly. Yeah. That's the only worthwhile thing that the lovely Nick Hellier ever said to me about fishing.
Right.
The only thing, you know, because we all know about Nickisms and we've all been around him. When there's nothing, something is everything.
Absolutely.
And that is very true. Well done, Nick.
Well done,
you got
Nick,
one right. So well done.
So this is an older one, isn't it?
So we think this might be an original because I basically Rob Willingham, who is like the Rain Man of identifying carp, who works for Embryo and does the websites and that, he identified that as a 28 pounder. So it's gone from 28 to 44.
Right.
We found out this morning it's not that carp. And I've told about 10 different people that they've grown from 28 to 44. Right. So he's made me look a right cock.
Right.
Thanks, Rob. But we think it might be an original.
Wow. It's a lovely carp.
Beautiful,
for those that can't see it, it's a big framed, buttery, overslung mouth, lovely tail, and
buttery belly, grey top,
gorgeous carp.
Lovely scales round the wrist.
Sorry, how big is it there?
That's 44 and a quarter.
44.
That was my first bite on this second trip.
How's your luck?
Yeah,
what a fish.
But you talked about the rigs, absolutely nailed. Like you want to show everybody else. Yeah. I mean, I caught you at night, and I was even trying to film it in the mouth at night. You know how hard that is with your mobile. Yeah. There's no cameramen there. Yeah. And yet. I got a few days in and I caught a few. Caught another 40 that night, 41. And I think I had 28 in the morning and another one. And then basically I put quite a bit of bait out for the spring. Right, 3 kilos I think is a lot of bait. Right, from the boat, put the marker float out, sculled up to it, well short of it, and just levered it round in a big area. Put 2 rods on it because I only had 1 the previous night. And I sort of had 1 over there against the margin, 1 out there that had done nothing, and then 1 over there that had done a couple of bites. So I put 2 there, but quite wide apart, over this big spread of bait, right? And whilst I caught one that caught nothing all night, and it was all night bites at the time, caught nothing at night. Next morning they turned up on this bait like you wouldn't believe, like just heads coming out, and it's just they're all over me, you know. So I've had a bite first light, then I've got done. Cast it back out again before the line's still on the surface, like snaking round, and I've just put the rod on the rest to do something else to get it all sorted quickly because they're on me, and it's just roared off like that, right? So So I caught one that quick, put it out again, got done. Then the other rod's got done. Then that one's got done again.
What do you mean done? What's happening?
Like I'm fishing slack because it's only 15 wraps or whatever, 16 wraps. Dill it, and just stay there like that.
Right.
You know, not did like that liners.
Yeah.
Like, so what I started doing, because I'm fishing running, I started getting a bit of marker elastic and putting it inside the leg clip and then pulling the swivel in, so you could see it like glowing inside the leg clip, and then put it back out. And then if I got that thing, I'd wind it straight in and see if that plastic was still there, because obviously if the swivel's been pulled out, the plastic's come out.
Yeah.
Like the rubber, little tiny bit of marker elastic's come out, and then you know you've been done. Wind it back in, it's not there.
Oh no.
You know what it's like? It's now driving me insane,
Yeah.
because I've caught 16 the week before on that very rig. Now I can't hook one. I've caught 240s the first night on that same rig. Now I can't hook one. What is going on? I think, is there little ones in there? Have they spawned? Are the hook baits getting pulled around? You know, but Mateus, the bailiff, in between times had float fish with corn to see if there were, because it happened to me the previous session. So then I've tightened them right up, even though I'm fishing at 16 wraps. I've now not bowstrings, but the bobbins are right up at the top, and it's tight. So I've added another take. The bobbins rattled like that, and the line's pulling around, and it's gone back again. It's come off as it's swimming off.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is, like, Kamakuras? What is going on, man? You know.
Barbless.
This is not no.
Barb.
No, it's barbed. This is not short hook links. This is 5 inches between the loops plus the hook. So it's a 6-inch hook link. It's not. I'm not using me silly 3-inch hook links or anything. You know.
Yeah.
Over bits. You know. It's like hard bottom.
Yeah.
You know. Like what is going on? So this has gone on during the session, and in the end, I've moved next door because the fish definitely moved away. As soon as there was pressure, the fish moved off me. First day and a half. Sorry. Fish moved off me, and I got the odd bite off of these areas, and then I moved, and same as happened the session before, I moved again then and caught from the off again. But I thought, right, I'm going to lengthen it to 6 inches, and I'm going to put a long shank X on size 4, so the hook link, the whole hook link, is that bit longer, and the gape of the hook is even bigger because it's a long shank hook. Had a bite on my straight away, no aborted take. Salted it, had this fish on for ages. This is another one of the 50s. Like, it's just going, and then it's gone on so long. I thought, there's something wrong here. You know, when you're playing them, you're like, there's something wrong here.
It's when the rod top stops going like that rather than like
when
that.
When
It's
just so powerful that you can't do anything with it, and you're just hanging on. And sure enough, this great big thing's come up side on to me, and I can see the hook bait in its flank.
What do you think's happened? Spat it?
I know what's happened. I've got it in. And because obviously we haven't caught any of these fish yet, and we haven't seen them much, so I still got to weigh it, haven't I?
Yeah.
Because I've got to tell everybody how big it is for the website and photograph it on the mat and all that. I can't just unhook it in the net and forget about it.
Yeah.
So I've done all that, and it's one of the scaly ones that have been stocked, mega fish, 38-12. But there's a rip, like a tiny little tear in the middle of its bottom lip, where that size 4 has gone in there and has not stayed in and has come out and has re-hooked it in the flank.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling that part of its bottom lip, they've got very thin lips. They're not like rubbery lips fish. They're like gigantica fish, very thin lipped. And that first bit, like ½ inch inside its lip, is like this table.
Yeah.
It's like that. When you get past it, it's lovely.
You've got,
and
like, on the edge, there's a soft bit on the edge, and then you go in like that far, and it's rock hard in the floor. So that textbook hook hold that everyone talks about is bullshit. It's got to be behind that.
It's got to be behind that.
Or
But they
in
haven't
the
all
side.
got that, have they? They haven't all got it to that same degree.
Not to the same degree, but I think that if you always have a feel around in the bottom front part, it's quite often bony and rock hard in there, isn't it? Like,
Where do you both before we carry on with that, Dan, where do you both class the perfect hook hold? When you've landed something, you get it out and look at it.
I got the perfect hook hold there.
Right.
So when I was getting these aborted takes, I went to the same length hook link, but with loops and booms with about an inch of braid. So I had a 4-inch boom, and then an inch of soft, and then the same hooking arrangement, which is just a basic hair rig, with the line coming off opposite the barb, basically, just a normal, no swivels or any of that business going on. And that one that took it seemingly on the drop it was caught, like Daryl said, it had gone just in far enough past that bony bit, and it had caught behind that bony bit, and I didn't think I was going to get the hook out.
When it's hilted and it's like the shank
Mate,
is like
it's like
plush
gone.
to the...
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like in there, and I'm thinking, I've got no forceps with me because this never happens. Like, how am I going to get this out?
It's like when someone says to you, didn't they, was it nailed? And you go, I could have played in for hours.
I could have swung it in.
Yeah, if you knew that.
Could have lifted up on the leg core.
How much more enjoyable would it... Well, I don't know if it would be, but imagine if every time you hooked one, a little thing just went off and went, it's totally nailed, you can enjoy yourself.
Yeah, but
Or you can hang on.
You can hang on.
If you've caught a load and they're all like that, then you just relax
Yeah.
and it just carries on, doesn't it?
They are inconsistent hook holds, I think, though, because of fish
With
coming...
your rig sale, son, yeah.
Because they come from different directions, don't they? They don't always take it in the same manner. Like they could be coming from the lead end,
over the top
they could
of
be
the
coming
rig,
at 90 degrees,
swim
straight down.
straight over the top of the rig.
Yeah.
So the rig's underneath their belly.
Yeah.
My mind just wandered a bit then, because I was thinking, I went to when you were saying about you now 16 or whatever it was the previous trip, and then this was happening over and over again. My mind went straight away to a totally different discipline, which is pike fishing. Now you get quite a lot in pike fishing where on the day they just feed differently. It's really weird, but you do. Some days you just, once the float twitches, you've got to hit them, or they swallow the whole dead bait or live bait, whatever you're fishing. And other days you can let the float sail away, give it 8-10 seconds, and it's still only just in the lip. It's weird. I don't know why, but it's a known thing in pike fishing. Do you think that's something that on lakes carp can have periods of time where they're just not feeding like they normally do?
Of course.
And that's on different days.
Yeah.
The weather's different. How
More
many
fish
are
on
in
the
the
spot.
swim? Yeah. You know, all that sort of stuff. Are they spooky because one you caught the day before has turned up on the bait as well, and it's all like that? We don't know, do we?
No,
because we're not doing it underwater every time. But so I've got this one in that's foul hooked in the flank. You know, I'm nearly crying. Do you know what I mean? Because I've caught 11 at this point, but I'm still, as far as I'm concerned, you know what I'm like? I'm still failing.
Was you on your own still at this point?
I'm on my own, yeah.
Oh, that's getting held up, that one.
Right, so
£38 scaly one. Look at that. That's lovely. Nailed.
You'll never see that hook hold in the flank in the pictures, yeah.
You only got one side? I've only got the one side.
If you can, Kev will smudge it out for you, that old chestnut, yeah. So then I've had some old longer hook links from fishing at Anti-tangle where you needed longer hook links. Same thing happened to me there. Short, I was getting hook pulls or funny takes, and I went longer and nailed them all. So I put one of those on. That was 6 inches of 20-pound boom, and then at least an inch of braid. So it's quite, it's 2 or 3 inches longer than I was using. Put that out, adding a bolted take on it. I'm like, what have I got to do to sort this out? Like, I've had a funny take, wound it in, and the hook's all tangled. Like the hook's upside down, and the hair's all. That hasn't happened on the cast, man.
No,
it hasn't happened. When do you ever wind something in like that? And bear in mind, I've just added the bolted take as well. It's done that, and it's all done that as it's come out the fish's mouth.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what have I got to do? So I've taken a shot on the hook off, right? Put the rig back out, caught one on it. Not hooked very well, but I've caught one on it, right? So at the same time, this is on a new longer spot that I've baited heavy, seen them all out there just beyond it, up and down that margin. So then the other spots started to kick off. The one that I'd been fishing from the swim next door, and I hadn't put any more bait in, and I've baited for a couple of days on that swim and not caught many. It's all still sitting there, isn't it? And then they've turned up on it now, but I'm not putting any more bait in. I'm just putting the rig out.
Yeah. So
the first bite I've had, lovely 37-pound mirror, he's caught, combi rig, 5 inches long. He's caught right on the edge of the lips. It's just nicked in, but it's gone in. The lip's tough, and it's gone in enough to land it. Mega fight. So I'm like, well, that ain't no good either. So I've put a long one on that, still with a shot on the hook on. No, I took the shot on the hook off. Right. Put it out again. And the next one I've caught, but it's caught up there. Right. But I've still caught it. You know, I haven't had an aborted take. I've caught it. So I put it out again, caught another one. And that's hooked a little bit better, and it sort of carried on like that. And I caught 5 more, and the hook holds were all over the place, like longer rig, very similar rig to what you use all the time.
Combi multi-rig, similar.
Combi, well, it's loops and booms combi rig, but it's working in exactly the same way.
With a long shank?
No, this is all with wide gape Kamakuras, not wide gape X's. I put a long shank on once just to see, and then took it off again after that problem. Size 4s, loved using them. I haven't used the normal wide gape for so long because I normally fish weedy places where you got to hang on. Because this is completely open water, it's like, use the sharpest thing I can get hold of. and loved them. You know, when I hooked them, the hooks were buried, like, you know, but all over the mouth, which I don't like.
No.
I want to get them in the same place every time.
And what braid was he using?
The loops and booms braid.
Which is what? Is it?
Which is 20-pound armour cord, basically.
Yeah, which has got a little bit of inherent stiffness.
Yeah.
And you think that the randomness of it is because the hook can't drop because of the stiffness within the braid, possibly.
Stiffness within the boom section, probably.
Was using an anti-tangle sleeve.
Yeah.
Because there's like when you take that can't rotate, can it? When it's
no,
got
no,
an tank.
no, it can't, no.
I fished at Gigantica last summer, and I had more hook. I used an anti-tangle sleeve, and I definitely had more hook pulls than I had on that rig before.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could put it down to was fishing mass particle. Maybe they're picking like that, or there was no rotation at the.
I think it's that.
Is that with the leg clip,
whilst
Daryl?
it's such a
yeah. There's no rotate. Like the boom has to rotate, like drop in. Otherwise, the hook stays sideways. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So you'll fish it. So this is with your combi multi again.
Yeah, I think it looks better with the anti-tangle sleeve, but I think in a hooking scenario it works better without.
Okay, so you've got that movement at the quick change end. You just got like a little silicone sleeve cut down, pulled over it.
No, he's doing his rig straight to a standard ring swivel.
Oh, I see. You're crimping it straight to the ring, or
and it's what the whole concept of it is the same as the shot on the hook. What's the point of the shot on the hook? Is to make the hook drop, isn't it? So by using anti-tangle sleeve, you're reducing the ability for that hook to just fall down the way it wants to fall. It sort of stays stiffness.
That didn't happen on underwater at Norton. They're all nailed perfectly with it. So it's every session, every lake bed, every group of fish, you've got to adjust it a little bit. But I mean, you don't, do you?
I want to eradicate doubt, and I want to focus on it doesn't have to be 100%. Because I know my rigs aren't 100% effective. I know that. I've always known that. Right. But if it's really good, then out of the mind.
We've had this conversation a few times in here, and like you would argue something like prime scenario, like we just said, Dan, where you've gone and absolutely terminated them the week before, and then you've come and changed.
I've only changed because I've stopped catching them. I've started getting a ball. So I wouldn't have changed if I'd just been mowing it down.
No, but the fact you have mowed them down on something that's obviously worked absolutely amazingly, and then you still made a change is something that I think a lot of people do, don't they? A lot of people immediately start changing things if it ain't happening again. But you've had so much success on something previous.
If you know you've been done through that little trick with the marker elastic in the leg clip, if you know you've been done, something needs to change. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting done. And when I did change it, I think that there was a holy grail for that lake, that swim, whatever, you know. And if I'd just fished with more standard sort of setups and not stuff that I consider to be so spiteful, the previous session I might have even caught more. You know.
So that what you're saying, Daryl? Just coming back to that with the ring and the crimp, is that something now? Is that a every time occurrence for you now? Then have you stopped using anti-tangle sleeve?
I've stopped using anti-tangle sleeve on that rig now. I have.
What about on your spinners, generic spinner setup?
I don't use spinner. I use stiff hinge rig for my pop-ups, or I use a combi multi rig. And sometimes I'll use a anti-tangle sleeve on the pop-up because you've got the rotation at the swivel end, so I don't think it needs that rotation further back.
But it's all happening in that last inch, isn't it?
In that last inch. But with the combi multi rig, I think that rig could be made more effective by having a hair rather than a D. Do you know, like if you have a normal knotless knot and it was whipped to like level with the point, so that when you hold the boilie or the bait or whatever it is, it always wants to just drop down. I think that's my rig isn't. I think, but I've got so happy with the quick changeness of it. And I feel that because that's another thing that I've eradicated, having to tie rigs all the time. It's like it makes me more efficient in other areas. But I'm actually thinking I want to maybe play around with some tying hook sections like loops and boom style, and then attaching it maybe like on a.
Why can't you just tie the hair on the hook? And,
I could.
And then you could loop on the hook. You could have a shorter boom section and just loop it on, but the loop's already pulled tight. You know, like the loop forms the multi-rig and forms the D on the back of the hook. You don't need a
pull
D.
tight.
Just pull it tight and have a hair coming off.
Would you be confident with it pulled tight without a ring in the back of it? Because obviously you've got the join of the eye, haven't you? So I'm conscious that you've got that meeting point of the metal where it comes round on the eye and meets the shank.
Stopping it.
It could cut through that. If it cuts through the gap.
Not that braid. That braid's
would it not slip through there?
That braid's like indestructible, isn't it?
It is really tough. That
and the eyes are like they're pretty closed. I wouldn't say they're all perfectly, but
it's again because you wouldn't be using a D, you'd need a shorter loop in the first place.
You would,
and then you'd struggle to get that over the hook and the bait. You'd have to tie the hook section without the bait, to slide the hook on, then put the bait on.
Yeah, you'd have to put bait on last. Yeah,
you'd have to put bait on last. But that is, I have thought about doing that. But like obviously.
But if it ain't broke, son.
Well, no, I do. I will. I'm a slow evolver. I don't chop like you say. You chop and change like in mid-session. My changes will take weeks or months of like thinking it over in my mind.
Next year, I'll put something different.
Yeah. Do you know what I love about this though? Just sitting here listening to obviously two of the very best guys that do it, and it just proves we are never going to master it. We're never going to get it.
And there's a million ways to be successful.
There's a million ways to be successful.
Yeah. And as long as you are, it doesn't matter how you're doing it.
No.
As long as it's not trebles.
You obviously take enjoyment from the tinkering around
I do.
it. Like,
I do,
it's part of it for you, isn't it? Part of the game.
That's why we're sitting in this building.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying.
Yeah, we'd be in a little shed somewhere if it's down to you, son, wouldn't we? Selling size 6 wide gapes and pretty much nothing else.
A few leads. Yeah. But it's great, isn't it? I think it does just show that there's, like you say, there's a million ways to do it. There's loads of things to change, loads of things you can do to improve.
But that also makes it confusing for the layman, for the beginner, the person who hasn't got the years of experience. So I'll say that to everyone about you, mate. About you can't if I fished 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week for the rest of my life, I would never catch up with your angling experience. Never. Because what you learn, like you said it earlier on, what you learn as a kid, like it's that mindset, that way of doing it, that you can't pick that up in later life. That that thing that has conditioned you into the animal that you are. Yeah, you can't. You just can't. No. So don't even bother trying to keep up with you because it's impossible to get there.
Yeah. It's not about that. It's not about. I don't ever think of my fishing as like trying to be on the same level as someone else or trying to compete.
No, but the average guy will do, don't they? Every people want to be you. They want to catch what you catch. That is the reality of it. They do. They want to catch what and I want to keep up with you when we're filming together. I want to actually at least not embarrass myself and sort of keep up. And I've realised, Dan, do you know what?
You're not going to.
You're not going to, mate. In terms of working somewhere out and just getting the measure of somewhere, that's never going to happen.
I do, but I am a firm. But I know what Daryl's is modest as well, which is another great quality of his. It is something like you say. I've got a friend outside of this as well, not somebody that's in the public eye. I mentioned him to Daryl before. A friend of mine, Mick. It's some people have just got it. And it doesn't matter what you try and emulate or copy.
They weren't giving it. They earned it long before you ever knew them.
But they make changes and make decisions that you would make, but you make them a lot later or at the wrong time.
Like we said him about changing a rig for a year. You would learn it a year, and generally because you saw somebody else do it. Yeah. And you think, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. But Terrier and all them sort of people, in my opinion, well, the group that Daryl's in, the legends of the game, they just learnt their craft long before anybody even knew who they were, and that it's like riding a bike. You can't take that away. No, that's always there.
Well, that's why we make all the films now and try and, like you say, help as many people as you can.
Yeah, and you're trying to basically take out the jargon and not have. Like, that's why I say to a lot of people at shows, if you like the way someone explain something to you and how they share their angling knowledge, if you like that, just watch their stuff. Don't watch 30 different things, because all them 30 people are right. They're all right because they all catch them. They might not be as right as another guy, but they're right. They are catching them. And if you take on information from all of those different people, it's going to blow your head up. So pick one or two at the most who are similar, and use those as your angling mentors if you need it. You know, but there's no substitute from being on the bank.
No, there's not.
That's like one of the biggest things is like there's no you can tell me something and I'm going to hear you and understand what you said, but it's not the same as me working it out in the lake and having the reinforcement of it working. Like there's something about that for me in fishing that, like, when I'm there, I'm doing it, and I get the confirmation it works, and when it doesn't work, that stuff hits home and it like stays with you. Like my memory, like for things like that, is really, really strong. Whereas like if someone tells me something, I just always doubt what they say, and because until I know it's fact, it might not be true. And that's I try to take everything with a massive pinch of salt that everybody says, because there's so much rubbish talked in carp fishing, so much that if you, it's just like a forest of phantoms. You know, it's like I want facts only. I don't care about opinions.
Forest of phantoms.
It's a great quote, isn't it? That could be the title for the podcast.
I want what I think to be true, like, and I don't want anything in there that's like not true, clouding that. It's, yeah.
There isn't, like you said, there's no substitute for. Like you said, like self gratification of getting something right or learning something yourself, either, is there? That's something that's a real skill in fishing. I think a lot of people. It's
problem solving, isn't it? If you're a natural problem solver by nature, and you like being outdoors and you like gadgets and all that, if you're not an angler and you're listening to this, you'll love it. You will love it, because the problem solving is continuous. You know, unrelenting. You know, and the being outside is unrelenting. Like, people ask me, like, outside of fishing, like, why do you go? And I try and explain it to them and everything else. You know, times I'd sit on lakes where there's a road nearby, and you watch all these people zooming backwards and forwards like we do every other day. And there's a mega sunset or whatever, there's a murmuration of starlings or whatever, the birds making a big cloud in the sky, and they're not even seeing that whatsoever. And that's what angling allows, is the time and the peace to see these things and absorb them and enjoy them. That's a major bit of fishing, in my opinion. You know.
Well, I'm going to move on for this, because I reckon this could go on for like 3.5 hours talking about rigs and location 100%. And getting it right. So. One thing I do want to just drop in and mention, and we have got a little teaser trailer from it. We're getting a lot of people ask when you're next out actually in a film dam, because obviously it's been a little while, isn't it? I don't know what, last year there wasn't many films dropping was there?
Everyone thinks I'm ill, don't they?
They think you're ill, you've
lost
gone.
a bit of weight, I haven't done any films, like that's Dan, we're going to...
But the truth of the matter is,
get my black suit ready for the old memorial service, like, you know.
We'll be there, won't we, Daryl?
Well,
sure.
Daryl, not if it's on a moon phase.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
And he'd respect that, though. You'd respect that.
I would respect that, yeah.
You'd have to respect that.
As long as he came and showed me the pictures a few days after. Yeah.
But you've got plenty of films in the can, edited, ready to go.
Yes.
And one of them is the Sandpit Adventure with Christopher Pashman, which is a personal favourite of mine, actually.
Yeah.
I've seen a sort of a rough edit of it with Kev, and it's a really good film. And I think we've got a little teaser trailer from it. Yeah, proper little atmospheric one. So let's have a look.
Nice.
How good is that?
Kev Wyatt, you made me so horny.
Oh my God, Kev is an absolute master. Kev Wyatt, who normally sits behind the desk there with John doing these, is an absolute master when it comes to putting together things like this.
He's a joke. He's photography and that. If you're on Instagram and you want to follow a photographer, follow Kev Wyatt. He's up there. hopefully he won't ever sort of realise just how good he is, because we'll lose him to the BBC or something.
That's not even the main trailer. He stuck that together and went, what do you think of this? Just a little follow-up one made with a bit of atmosphere. And I'm like, yeah, it could go on the TV, Kev. That's literally unreal.
So good, mate.
Yeah. So anyway, tell us a little bit about, obviously don't give too much away because that film's not far off coming out, but what was it and what went on?
So Christopher Pashman's, who is our #1 brand ambassador for Germany, who's now started working for us full time again, actually. He's the most fantastic guy, catches like absolute weapons like all over the world, not just Germany, France, everywhere he goes, Austria, everywhere he goes, he catches them. Super lovely guy. Me and him have got a real connection and have real deep conversations about nothing to do with fishing. So I'll get on with him like a house on fire. We never fished together, so I wanted to start doing stuff more with some of these exceptional guys in our team in other countries, to show the English viewers a little bit about lakes that they would have never ever seen before and may never ever go to, and give these guys a chance to share their angling experience with me, sort of trying to get it out of them, because a lot of them are a bit like, Daryl has become the consummate presenter now, but years ago, like, he just took everything as read that everybody knew everything that he did, and I'm like, mate, they don't. You got to tell them.
Yeah.
So Chris sorted this out for one of his syndicates, which is the way it goes on a lot of German lakes. They're club lakes, so all method angling where you're supposed to kill the carp when you catch them, and there's syndicates where that rule is not quite as stringent, and you're allowed to leave the parent fish alone so that they can have babies, and wild free-for-alls, which there's not many, and this was a syndicate right on the Dutch border, big sand pit. Hey Danny, there are no swims on this lake. Will you be able to fish it? I'm like, mate, I'll be all right. Just leave me to it,
Yeah.
But it was proper sandpit. Like, there was sand in my gear for like 6 months afterwards. You'd like get an old boot or something and they'd just pour sand out of it, or your carport was just full of sand, But yeah, like they'd fed the fish over the first couple of years of the syndicate, so they'd whacked it on. Big deep sand pit, clear water, and it's just me and Chris how the session unfolded. He'd been there before and smashed it up, but we had terrible weather. A bit like what we've had this week, flat calm, red hot, deep water, but mate,
and this is a Thinking Tackle, isn't it?
This is a Thinking Tackle.
So this is a proper like adventure film type
proper
thing.
Adventure. Him starting in one swim, me starting in another, not having a clue how it goes. And it's a great story.
Yeah,
it's a great story.
Like when I watched it, when I watched a bit of it the other day with Kev, I literally finished it, had my lunch, and I text Christopher and said, when are we going to this sandpit? How about that guesting? He went,
mate, I'm going back, son. I'm going back.
He said to me, I haven't renewed the ticket. He said, but it's okay. I've only deferred it. I'm going to get it again next year. We'll go next year. But yeah, it looks. It's like one of those places you look at. It looks really unique because it just looks like you said, like a beautiful beach with clear water.
It looks like the beach,
amazing
mate.
carp.
It looks like the beach, like a lot of places do over there. But yeah, I'd like to go back in a couple of years in the autumn. Like November would be a great month on there. Great month when they're going down that shelf because it just gets progressively deeper and deeper out to the middle. And I was fishing like on a bit of a shelf, 17-18 foot or something like that, and it went down beyond there, but there's another level at sort of 25-28 which is nice and flat, still casting distance, because I not want to give too much away. It's everybody on their boats, and I baited with a boat, but I cast because it was short enough range to do that. And the benefit that comes from that is the ability to get back out there quick and not scare them away with the boat again. And that, it blew Chris's head up that session.
Well, I know we can't give anything away on this trip, Daryl, but you're getting to fish with Christopher this year as well, aren't you? You've got an adventure coming up.
Oh, have you? I don't know about this. Go on.
Well, I don't know too much about it myself. Christopher sent like a couple of venues.
You going to film?
Yeah, Thinking Tackle.
Right, okay.
In June with Kev, Christian, what's his second name? The German Christian, the cameraman.
Kessler,
Christian. Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's good boy, Chris Kessler.
Yeah, so that I'm sure it's going to obviously top boys.
I think if he's firing you a couple of locations, it's on. it's happening, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not going down there and it's not happening.
No,
It's gonna
but
happen.
because we did another film actually, it's one to watch out for. At the end of the session, we had time to shoot another film with me and Chris just sitting there, sort of a bit podcasty style really, sitting behind the rods and me pumping in for information about boat fishing, because the Germans have got certain things that they do with boat fishing that nobody else does. And I wanted to ask him, is that a thing or is that just rubbish? Is that a bit of a modern myth or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
We just carried on catching them, or I carried on catching them like in the middle of all of this. So that's another one to watch. But we talked about venues and everything, and he's literally going to get shot if he takes you on certain places.
Yeah.
You know, he will be ostracised from the German scene and won't get other club tickets and all that. So it will only be places which are privately owned, and he can't come in for a load of grief. He just told me about one in Austria. He said he can see the bottom, every stone on the bottom, in 18 foot.
Blimey.
6 metres. It's more than 18 foot. It's
Yeah.
nearly 20 foot. He said, like, for the boat, every stone on the bottom in 20 foot.
Did you see him catching them from the paddleboard last year when he went on holiday with his family?
Yeah, mate.
Unreal.
And like he's the freedom in his attitude to life is really inspiring. He does.
Yeah.
He takes his kids in a camper van, fishes all over the south of France for a month.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and the kids all love it, and they're playing football and all that, and his missus doing yoga, and he's got 60-pounder on. Like,
Yeah.
That's the life, mate, isn't
Oh,
it?
of course it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So
He's a
Your
Jedi.
kids would be setting fire to the local trees, and I'd be like herding cats, wouldn't it? So,
Yeah. Well, I think so. Keep anybody that's wondering when Dan's next out, keep your eyes peeled, because there is, like I say, there's more than one. There's several films coming with Dan
yeah,
in
I'm
over
all
the
right.
next
I'm
6
all right.
months.
I've got a few years left in me
He's
yet.
still with us.
Yeah, I'm still with you. Yeah.
And I'm going to round this off here because we like to keep these about this length. But Dan, we're definitely going to be obviously having you back with the lads because they want to pick your brains about
Love
lots
it.
of stuff.
Love it. I'm quite, what's the word? Offended that you haven't asked me already.
Well, we wanted it to be in the right time and,
You're on
and
number
plug some
like
of these
200
films.
and something, ain't you?
No, I think we're on 11 or 12, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 11 or 12,
right,
I think.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it back then.
Try and do them every 2 weeks. But yeah, we were hoping to come in right on a film coming out, but you've got me out of a hole today because they're obviously buggered off to underwater. So appreciate you coming in. Thanks, Daryl.
No problem.
And we'll see everyone on the next one. Take care.
Lovely. Cheers, mate.